Welcome to One EMS, where we talk about anything and everything and ask all the questions so that we can get the answers. I'm here with Chief Freddy Howell of Bryan County Fire. Chief, you look like you've been in the field for about a year or so. Kind of rookie, wet behind the ears.
Yeah, I've been chief for about 6 months.
Okay, how's it going for you so far?
It's good, it's good.
No, in all reality, how long have you been chief of Bryan County?
I've been chief here at Bryan County for going on 10 years now. I'm in my 9th year and working on my 10th. But I was at Kings Bay Navy Submarine Base prior. I was at Camden County Fire Rescue, Kingsland Fire Rescue, not as chief there, but as a firefighter, EMT. And then I was at Waycross before that as a firefighter all the way up to chief, and a SWAT medic on the SWAT team there. So
okay. So when you got started, did you start in fire or you started in the EMS side?
Started in fire, and in 1986, 87, I went to Okefenokee Tech, what it was then, and went through EMT high school and become an EMT and started working for Ware County on the side. And then the EMS moved into the firehouse.
Right.
And so I was working for the city of Waycross on 124, and I'd roll over and work for Ware County the next 24, and I was kind of staying at the firehouse, riding the ambulance or riding the fire truck, one or the other. So I've been doing that ever since. So
over 30 years in the field.
Going on 37 years.
I have said, I'd like to get your take on this. I've said many times, as a medic, or if you just do EMS, there's no real career there. Right, you can go from EMT to advanced to paramedic,
right,
and from paramedic to a desk. With fire, you go through all the positions, and even as chief, it depends on what level chief you are, you can still run the calls. And I imagine if a call goes out tonight, if you wanted to, you could go run fire with it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, it's according to what kind of call it is and where it's at, but a lot of times I'll get up and I'll go just to either hands-on or either to watch and observe and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I gotcha. So in your experiences, are you seeing a change to where medicine can shift and have a career similar to fire, or is it all going to kind of become one thing?
You know, we were just talking about that. Me and my deputy operations chief and EMS chief was talking about that earlier. Throughout the country, most fire departments are running EMS calls. Not all of them are transporting. But the growing trend across the United States is the EMS calls. As the population grows and as people get older and the communities get more dense, the call volume goes up. And for EMS, on the flip side of that, on the fire side, with education, enforcement, and engineering especially, all the new concepts and all, the fire calls are going down.
Okay.
So we have this going on in the country. We have fire calls going down, EMS calls going up. And so that leaves the idle time for firefighters, if they're not trained into doing hydrants and doing all the stuff that ISO requires us to do, then they can run EMS calls. And so a lot of communities are saying, well, let's get more bang for our buck and let's let those guys do EMS too. And so, to be honest with you, fire, if the call volume's going down, and right here in this community, we do a lot of prevention. We do a lot of education, prevention in the schools and all. And so the call volume, our fire volume's going down. Well, firefighters get bored.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's in public safety didn't get in public safety to sit around and just twiddle their thumbs.
Right.
We're adrenaline junkies. And so firefighters want to run those EMS calls. And so whether they're on a BOS engine or a AOS engine or on a squad or ambulance, they're thrilled to run those calls, and I see that going across the United States. However, not every EMT paramedic coming into the system wants to be a firefighter.
Right.
So the problem here is when we have these dual departments and you make somebody dual certified, it tends to hurt on the EMS side because those EMS people that don't want to do the fire are not interested in it. And
interesting. So when I came in to be a paramedic, I got to ride with Gwinnett Fire, and at that point in time, that was right at 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, Gwinnett Fire was losing medics, or the state of Georgia was losing medics, and specifically Gwinnett Fire, because of the dual, but not because they didn't want to do fire. It's because the firefighters all had to become, at that point through Gwinnett Fire, they did all the levels.
Right.
Everything was all together. And the medics were being stuck on the rescues constantly and not getting to fight the fire. So they were dropping their numbers and rolling back to, at the time, intermediate.
Right, yeah.
Because they wanted to fight fire.
Right.
So you're seeing kind of the opposite of the medics now don't necessarily want to fight fire.
Right. No, the certain few that come in, they took it. They're going the medical route. A lot of EMTs, and they start. You coming fresh out of high school. If you didn't take the career path and go to college or to the military, you try to go to a tech school.
Sure.
Which is one thing we need to across the country. We need to encourage and try to build more tech schools. And I'm talking about from EMT, paramedic to welding and everything else. We don't have those technical skills out there anymore. But a lot of people will start out as an EMT and then they'll go up to a paramedic, and the medical side of it, it interests them, and so they want to go on. A lot of them are going to be a PA. I've had numerous. Matter of fact, one of my instructors when I was coming along, he's a PA now. And Scott Mathis, and he worked for. But a lot of them, what I'm saying is they want to. We have one of our EMS instructors here in the community that works for us. He's going on to be a PA, and
right. And that's kind of that projection of medicine as you get out of the community service if you really want to keep going.
And so if they come in and they're really interested in medicine, and you throw them into this fire stuff, they're not interested in that. Mm-hmm. On the state level, there's a lot of things I think that the state of Georgia needs to do. And I interviewed for the director of the fire academy a couple years ago. In Forsyth, and I was interested in it. And I told them, and I'll tell the world, that one of the first things I was wanting to do was bring DPH and the Georgia Fire Academy together.
Yeah.
If you go to the Public Safety Training Center in Forsyth, Georgia right now, there's no EMS classes there.
Right.
Why?
I've asked that since I got in the field 20 years ago.
Why is not EMS first responder class? I mean, is it not public safety? Why are we not teaching that?
Right.
Years ago, we had Ham. I can't remember her first name, but her last name was Ham. I went up there and took EKG reading and all through her. But we had one Department of Health had put one instructor there to start teaching medical classes for EMTs and paramedics. But I'm like, why, if we see this trend that I just told you about a while ago, the EMS calls going up and the fire calls going up, why are we not taking advantage of that on a state level? Because I think there's where our recruitment retention is the problem, is on a state level, because we got it separated there, but then in the firehouses we're trying to put it together, and it's not.
So you get the Office of EMS under DPH, and then you've got the fire standards under the insurance commissioner, right? So it's even
right, and it's not. We need to put them together. They need to be married, more or less, or in some form of fashion. I'm not into state operations, but I know there's a way. There's a way it could work.
Well, that's why we have these conversations. You don't have to have all the answers. But if you have the ideas and the desire, I think some of the separation comes from, when I say the state level, I mean our state senate, all the way through different offices, that not everybody comes from the ground, literally from the ground up.
Right.
They come all through different paths, and sometimes that good intention gets in the way. And this education of, I'm hearing a fire chief say we need to mix it. I never thought I'd hear that. And actually, personally, I never thought I'd hear that. Most fire chiefs I talk to are like, we don't want EMS. EMS is a burden and a liability because, like you said, that call volume's up, and it's not always good call volume.
No.
And humans make mistakes, and even if you didn't, still liability sometimes.
80 to 90% of our calls are EMS, and we're a fire department. We do transport. Right up the road here, we have a city fire department. 80 to 90% of their calls, their first responder calls, assist in our EMS.
Okay.
You can go to any community around here, and the majority of their calls are going to be EMS calls. So why are we responding, firefighters on a fire truck, that have to go through DPH to get all their training, and then they have to go to the fire academy to get their fire training. Why are we not seeing them together? That's just it's just mind-boggling.
What is for the county? What is your call volume per year?
We're running right around 6,000 calls a year.
Okay.
Yeah. This year we may bust that.
So if you just did only fire, didn't first respond, that would be 2,000, 1,500 calls?
Oh, we run about not 17, 18, 2,000 calls, fire calls is all.
Yeah.
So, and out of that, I think like 28 total structure fires a year. 28 where you have to put the wet stuff on the red stuff.
I'd actually do something.
So, yeah.
I try to dance around this one because I don't want to put you in a spot. How does your local county government support you?
You know what? I am blessed. We're in one of the community. We're like the 6th fastest growing community in the United States right now, and my commission have been really. We have one that's he is a commissioner, but he was a dentist. He understands a lot of the medical needs of it. They've been great, and we got a county manager that's he's outside the box. He sees forward a lot, and he's allowing us to buy and build and hire and get the equipment we need. We have over the past, we have like 12 ambulances. We're only running 7 right now. We're going to go 8 within next year, but we have probably 8 of those 12 ambulances are 2 years or less. And before he got here, we were replacing motors and spindles and axles and doing all this stuff. And instead of I was having like $250,000 of maintenance and repair in ambulances, and he said, "Why are we doing that? Why don't we just swap them out pretty fast? So when they get about 100,000 miles on them, we're starting to look at replacing it." And so when it gets 200,000 miles, it's a backup or a reserve unit, and it's fixing to go to pasture. So it's been very
smart,
beneficial. And on the front end, it looks like you're buying a lot of ambulances, but you're paying $200,000 for an ambulance, and you don't have this $250,000 maintenance budget every year where you're replacing the engines and all, which takes our county shop. It takes time away from them when they're replacing the engine. They can't do the oil changes, and they can't do the maintenance, the little small maintenance on them that is required. So it's a good transition there.
That's good. You mentioned earlier about recruitment and retention are big problems. Obviously, retention is a huge problem. We talked a little bit about career paths, and obviously we'll talk about compensation helps with that. For recruitment, there's a barrier to entry, right? I'll speak from my experience when I talked to Rockdale Fire as a paramedic. Like, we're thinking about putting up ALS engines. Like, I'll try that.
Yeah.
What would I start at? Like, well, we don't know because we don't actually have ALS engines. So we don't know if they do paramedic pay. But they basically say if you started as a firefighter, while I'd end well, I'd have to go. I was barely making ends meet. Couldn't break $30,000 a year as a medic. I'd have to go down to $18,000 a year as a rookie firefighter, plus education. Right. In medicine, you have to have education to get started. A lot of fire departments are giving that education. Do you hire a firefighter fresh off the street and put them through EMT school, or how y'all?
No, what we found out is, a lot of kids are coming out of high school. Well, 2 things. One is we go ahead and teaching in the high school. We have a firefighter class going in on the north end of the county. We have 2 high schools here, a north end and a south end. Our south end down here, we run a first responder program every year, EMR program, and we teach it in-house. And we do the firefighter program in-house on the north end. So we get these high school graduates, we get them interested and their juices flowing. And so when they graduate, then we have signing day bonus or signing days, just like these kids are going to college to play football. We do a signing day. So we recruit those guys. We got a rookie school going on right now with 2 or 3 of them in it, and there's like 10 head in the rookie school. And when they get through, we put them through Firefighter 1. Right time they get through Firefighter 1, they go right into EMT school. And so we do Firefighter 1, EMT, and then we will help them go through paramedic school. We're trying to do a paramedic in-house, but the bureaucratic red tape you have to go through to do this, and
accreditation and all that stuff.
And it's amazing to me that when I went through firefighter school and I went through EMT school, it was like 6 months long, if that. It was 2 nights a week. And then I went through firefighter, it was like 6 or 8 weeks. And now it's the same material, but the book's about this thick.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that, because the tests, you can go take the basic test from 1985, 84 when I come through to today, and it's the same. I mean, nothing's really, there's some new techniques and things have evolved. They may have changed the names of some stuff, but it's still the same. Your heart still is the same as it was.
Right.
The blood
Science
travels.
Is science. Yeah. It's pretty much steps of blood flow, right?
It still travels through the heart the same way as it did in 1985. So why are we? Why are we? I don't get that part.
I don't know. It seems like somewhere the brains that be decided that the retention was because we didn't make it hard enough to get into the field. That's what it feels like.
Well, we don't need to make it that hard. We need to make it less harder so they can come in and we get them. You have to. Well, before you can get somebody to like hamburgers, you got to give them the taste of hamburger.
Yeah.
And so we got to give them the taste of EMS, the taste of fire, the taste of that adrenaline. And once they get that taste, they're hooked, and they will succeed on their own. Most people will. They will get that drive and the determination, and they will seek to better educate themselves, to better themselves in their profession. So,
what do you think about this EMTR program? Are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So are you familiar with the COVID ruling on drivers for non-emergency ambulance?
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
EMT-R is this new state proposed mandate. Now, because everything in Georgia, because of how the laws are set up, it has to be an EMT. So they're taking first responder, making it EMT-responder or -R, and that would take the National Registry EMT responder level, which is a 2-week class, and let them be drivers for even 911, even for Bryan County.
So you're just going to have a paramedic and a EMTR? Is that what you're saying?
That is the possibility. Yes.
No. I've been on too many calls where it was either an accident or a medical emergency where you needed somebody that knew what they were doing that could help you besides just driving. And
well, still in my app for it, so I'll argue a little bit, because I'm asking your own opinion.
Yeah.
No, it's not for everywhere. Right. But here in Bryan County, and this is where I'm painting the picture, you've got firefighters coming in, right, and they're responding. Right. You got your medic coming in, and they're still to the first responder level. Do you have first responders at all at volunteer in the county? Yeah, so at that level.
Yeah, they drive in. They drive if we're working a code or something, we throw a firefighter behind the wheel of the ambulance.
So it kind of played to that.
It's the same, but in rural communities where there's not as many people to help or hire, I can see that as a benefit. But in a dense population like Savannah or here or somewhere, I don't know. That's putting a lot of pressure on a medic in the back by themselves, because there's a lot of stuff you got to do. Then, and if that person that's helping you can't or don't know or don't have the skills and ability to start an IV and help do all the other things, that's putting a lot of pressure on one person to do it.
Yeah, I get that.
That's where I'm coming from.
And through your travels, have you ever? I get it. I don't hear a hard no. I don't hear I hear good reasons.
Yeah.
And again, it's not gonna work here. Right. That's the problem with EMS in general. I think is we've tried to do a one size fits all across the board. Even with private EMS, we just do non-emergency doctor's runs essentially. We still have to meet the ambulance criteria that you have to meet to run these gunshot wounds and wrecks and stuff, which is not the same ballgame. So
I've rode dialysis. I worked for a private ambulance services and rode dialysis. I can see that what you're talking about working perfect there. That's.
Have you ever, in your personal experience, been the lead on the truck? And your partner, you put them to drive and kept the first responder and the firefighter in the back?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I've been there, right? I've been there too. That's kind of why I like
their skills. I know their skill level. And I'm like, okay,
hey, partner, you can drive.
Yeah. So, and I can teach this person way better than I can to have you try to do your skills
Right.
again. So yeah.
So before we wrap it up here, what kind of recruitment or retainment issues are you facing with Bryan County?
Well, the job market right now is so it's open to everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
you can look at a semi or a tractor trailer going down the interstate right now, and you can see, look, we're hiring for $80,000 to $100,000 with a $20,000 or $10,000 sign-on bonus, and we are paying $50,000 to go to an EMT school and a paramedic school and firefighter school with no sign-on bonus, and all they got to do is drive a big rig up and down the truck, and they're going to get trained for free or paid training. That's job, that's hard to compete. And so what we're going to have to do is somehow, the local communities is going to have to figure out a funding mechanism to up the dollar amount, and it's going to have to come up with something to entice the kids to come into this profession, because right now I think public safety across the board, and I ain't just talking about EMS, I'm talking about fire, I'm talking about police, game wardens, and everything. It seems to be on the back burner, and not as with the last few years, the media.
Sure.
There's
been some bad things that have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's give us a black eye, and it's not our own doings. It's not really our own doings. Was there some bad cops out there? Absolutely, there were some bad cops out there, and there's bad people in every field you go to, no matter what. But one size doesn't fit all, like you said a while ago. And I think that I personally think we're gonna have to come up with some ways to entice. I'm glad I'm at the end of my career instead of at the beginning of my career, because I don't see the fire chiefs and the EMS directors nowadays. They're going to have a lot of struggle trying to hire people and keep people in the future, unless they come up with some very unique ways of doing it. And that's what we're struggling with right now.
I hear you. All right, I got 4 questions. So the first thing that comes to mind when I throw these at you. In your entire career, what is it you love about fire EMS?
Helping people. You know what? I know there's been a lot of my stay has been on 16 and 95, and I'm getting cold chills right now. I'm thinking about some wrecks that we've worked, and people that were going on vacation, going down to Disney World and trying to make it and driving overnight. Anyhow, but helping those people, and knowing that they're still alive today there's no better feeling than that. You can't get it any better.
In your career, what's one of the biggest things you see change in fire and EMS that either you helped with or just saw that was like, man, that was a pivotal moment when you needed that change?
Well, I'll be straight up. When I come in, we were more of a paramilitary type structure. And we had to wear the brass, the collars. You see the way I'm dressed now. Yeah. I don't even wear a uniform. Very, very rarely do I wear a uniform. When I wear a uniform, most everybody goes, "Oh gosh, somebody's getting fired." But no, I think that, the t-shirts, the relaxed atmosphere, the hair, the tattoos, all that, it's a more relaxed, and I think that's helping, bring people in. Instead of being a hardcore, straight lace, you got to have your shoes shine. You got to have your thing creased and all that.
Your gig line on the road.
Yeah, that's the one thing that since my time I've seen that. And the other thing that I think is a proactive thing in fire and EMS is safety. We have really. I'm a really safety oriented chief, and I everybody goes home, and I'm the state advocate for the state of Georgia for the National Fallen Firefighters, and everyone goes home program, and I believe in safety. I mean, if we don't have the right tool to do it with, we ain't gonna do it. If it can't be done safe, we ain't gonna do it.
I like it. So. I like it. Again, in your career, what's the biggest problem you're facing right now in Bryan County?
Personnel. bring them into the field and keep them in the field is, recruitment retention. I think that's the going trend across the whole United States right now. Is trying to get people to apply, getting them certified. We do a lot of, like I said, we got a rookie school going on right now. What our problem is once we get them all certified, qualified, we get them on a truck. One of the neighboring departments will offer them 15 cents more an hour, and they'll jump over there and run over there for 15 cents or 50 cents or a dollar. And I'm like, guys, man, we have a retirement. We have 401, 40, 57, whatever they read. And I'm like, you're leaving. And
they don't see the long picture.
Well,
sometimes.
I understand that. When I was young, I didn't think about it either. But now, at the age I'm at the end of the career, you think, man, if I had started a 401k, or if I'd have stayed at that one department, if I'd have stayed, which I stayed 20 years with the city of Waycross, got a little retirement going there, but if I would have stayed longer, I could have probably not been doing anything now, but I wouldn't have been happy either. So, so I like where I'm at. So
awesome. And then the last question with One EMS, it is about bridging that gap in communication between the person starting on the street or ending on the street even, and the policymakers and the citizens and everything in between. So with our goal of bringing everybody together, what is one thing that One EMS could do in your vein to help?
Well, I think if you could educate to the overall people at the state level, and we could go federal, but let's stay state right now. If we could get the DPH and the fire community, and we could get them just the head people of all those organizations. I'm talking about, the EMS head, the fire department head, the state fire commissioner, all those people in the same room, and let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we can get everybody working together for the same common goal. And let's identify the goal first. Let's put the goal up there. Let the powers to be decide what that goal is going to be. And I think if everybody could get in the room and communicate and talk about it, and then let's look at our legislators and make sure that our rules and laws in the state reflect what we are saying and doing, and don't let lobbyists try to persuade us different. I think if y'all could educate them enough to get everybody in the same room so we could all get on the same page and put it out there, I think that'd be good.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Chief, for having us in, and thanks to Bryan County for letting us use the facilities today to do some of these interviews. And we have these kind of conversations because, like you said, talking and education brings us together, and together we are One EMS.